In this video, I'm going to show you two tools that you can use repeatedly in every lesson just by making copies of them to allow kids to work independently, asynchronously during a lesson that is mostly synchronous. So my goal is to be able to have kids step away from Zoom for a bit, work with pencil and paper. That way they can write maybe more quickly than typing into a Google Doc. They can diagram, they can annotate, to be able to still see their work while they're completing it, to be able to communicate with them throughout that time, and to bring them back together after they've worked and after they've put that work where I can see it, and also potentially to be able to bring individual students back earlier based on the work that I'm seeing to help them, to support them. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish in a lesson. Two tools to help us do that. The first, let's say that we're in a NearPod lesson, we're in Zoom together, and I get to the place where I want to release them to do some independent work. I would give them some directions in this box. This is a Google slide that is embedded as web content into my NearPod. I would put whatever directions I have in the box. I have a timer on this slide for however long I want this activity to be. I have what is I'm calling a chat box, where I can type to students and they can type back to me. When we are not on Zoom anymore, they're going to get off of Zoom and we can still communicate with this chat box. And then I have a button where they will come back to my link when it's time. So either when the timer runs out or when I chat them and ask them to come back to Zoom, they'll press this button. So that's in the NearPod. Here's the student view. They're seeing the exact same thing. When I click to this slide, I'm going to leave this slide up and they're going to see this Google slide where I can chat to them. So if I'm the teacher, we're no longer on Zoom, and I want to say something to Derek, I'll say, Derek, please take a picture of your work and then come back into our Zoom. And Derek will say, okay, coming back now, Derek. Now he would say that in his NearPod, so let's go to his. You can see in real time that typing for me comes up. He responds to me here. Okay, coming back now, Derek. Back in my screen, I can see. So we have our chat function. I'm going to have to erase this when we fill it up and then start again. But in terms of being able to real time communicate back and forth while we're not on Zoom and while they're working asynchronously, they can do that. They will also be seeing, this is the student view again, they'll be seeing the timer, so they can use the timer here. And they will also be seeing, that's a timer with music. And they will also have this button. When they press this button, you'll see this link here. That is my link. That will bring them right back to my room. So when they follow directions, when the timer runs out, they come back here, or when I chat them to come back. They're seeing this the whole time because their NearPod is open, even though they are not on Zoom anymore. So while they're looking at this slide, the work that they're doing is pencil and paper. And when either I ask them to take a picture of it, or when the timer gets down to maybe 1 minute and they're ready, they will go into their Google Classroom and they'll have something like this. It'll be a Google Doc with the setting that is a copy for each student. So it will be their own Google Doc, and it will just be the same every day. It'll be a document that looks like, oops, that was the last submission. It'll be a document that looks like this, that just has space below the line and directions about uploading. So they've been working on paper, and when it's time, 2 clicks, that will pop up a camera. The camera will work even on a Chromebook because they will not have a camera on because they will not be on Zoom. So then here's their work. Imagine this is written work. Take the picture, insert, and there's their written work that I can look at. I can resize it myself because I'm looking at the same document. I have access to each of their documents because they're in their Google Classroom. So they've now done their written work, they've submitted their written work, and now they just on their slide, they're in their NearPod, they would just click on their link, their button, and they'll come right back to me. So those are the two tools. We have this Google slide that we can embed in our NearPod. We can always embed it as web content by capturing the link. Anyone on the internet with this link can edit and copy the link. I'm going to leave it as edit. If I want them to be able to type back to me in the chat, I can change it to view if I don't want them to be able to chat back to me, if I just want to be able to chat to them. Copy the link. Go to the NearPod that I'm building here in Google Slides. Insert web content and put that link in. And I, again, can use that same slide or a copy of that same slide every day. The things that I would change on that slide each day would just be the length of time. So I would pick a different timer. I can do that, insert video. If I want a 6-minute timer instead of a 10-minute timer, or a 5-minute timer, and search for that, and I can pick a different timer to insert each day depending on the task. And then I would obviously change the directions for whatever the task is. Those are the only things you have to change every day. The chat box is just a text box. You can leave it here, clear it out, and use it each day. The Zoom button, you'll have to change this to be your link instead of mine. So go to edit link and put your link in. But once you do that, you can use that same Zoom button every day, and you're just changing the directions and the timer. And then this form, you'll just make a copy. You can use the same form every day, and make sure to make a copy for each student. Choose that option when you are assigning it in Google Classroom. These icons are just from an add-on here, and you can put those icons in, but you can use pretty much the same directions each day. So those are two tools. Use them together, make copies, use them every day, and you have asynchronous time where you're still able to communicate with students and you're able to see their work, and then they're able to come back very easily into your Zoom room for the rest of the lesson.